You'll hear me introduce you, and we'll get ready to roll.
Right.
All right, here we go. Hello, everybody. Welcome to TraderMerlin Show. It is your Monday edition. Sorry if there's any weird technical issues today. For some reason, one of my monitors went out about 15 minutes ago, so I was scrambling to get to work, and things reset over here. So I'm hoping that we're all good. Anyway, hope you all had a great weekend out there. It was a fun one, especially with all the rain here in Southern California, which we love. Now, I thought it would be appropriate, since many of us have been stuck in the confines of our own home for quite some time. Actually, Gavin Newsom today saying that California is going to lift some of the shelter-at-home restrictions, which have just been absolutely brutal for us out here in California. Hopefully everyone else is doing better than we are with regards to COVID. But a lot of this is having impacts on our psychology. So I thought it would be good to bring on one of my longtime friends from Online Trading Academy and from other projects as well. And early on with his book back in the days, Peak Performance book, I'm going to bring on Dr. Woody Johnson to join us today. We've got him, I believe he's in Southern California. Doc, how you doing today?
Merle, I'm doing fantastic, brother. And how are you?
I'm great, man. I'm always glad to have you back on the program. I actually really wanted to. It would be great if we had the old studio so we could literally set up a couch. And you guys might remember years ago I had a series called On the Couch with Dr. Woody Johnson, but it almost sounds like something else going on over there. But
That's right.
Well, hey, man, good to have you back on. It's been a long time. How you been faring? What you been up to?
And it's great to be here with you as well. Hear your voice and all of that. Haven't seen you in a long time. Things are going very well. In fact, I'm launching a home study course for trading psychology, and so if you want, we can talk a little bit more about that in a little while. And I'm still doing well. Of course, I do all my clinical stuff because I'm a clinical psychologist, but I've got both coaching clients with trading and as well clinical coaching and clinical therapy. So, it kind of mixes all in there together.
Yeah, the good news for you is, with regards to clinical psychology, you will always have business.
That's right, especially out here.
Oh, man. All right, well, on that note, I'm going to start things off not really trading or investing specific, but I have this hypothesis, this theory, and when we originally went into this lockdown, I watch a lot of crime dramas. I love suspense thrillers, but one of the things that popped into my head when this all started out was every time I watch some movie that deals with jail or prison, right? And when someone screws up real bad, they throw them in solitary for a day, a week, a month, a year, however long. And the longer that these people are in solitary confinement, I mean, they're drooling on themselves, and their minds are scrambled, and they come out as absolute psychopath, sociopath, whatever path they are, but they are screwed up in the head. And I couldn't help but to relate it to where we all are today. Some of you might be now all of a sudden full-time locked up with your significant other. How's that relationship working? Some of you might just be totally single and just going nuts because you can't go see anybody. What are your thoughts on the state of mental health and sanity with regards to not just Americans, but people around the world having this huge paradigm shift in the way that we used to do things, which was be social, be interactive. Now it's like Zoom is like our social outlet. How is this impacting, and what should we know about it?
Well, it's impacting us in huge ways. Some of those ways are somewhat clandestine in the sense that we don't know how it's affecting us, and that has to do with the long term. And let me put some background on this. See, first of all, Merlin, we are beings that require connection with other human beings. It's in our DNA. Mm-hmm. And it really began back when we were on the savannah. If we got ostracized and God forbid kicked out of the group, that was a death sentence. Because there's no way that one person could survive on the savannah with all those, because it's all feral out there. Mm-hmm. And you're going to be lunch for somebody. Now, so that scared the bejesus out of them. And over the millennia, we developed this real requirement that we connect. And that has a lot of implications. Now, one of the implications is that we have what's called the DSM, the Diagnostic Statistical Manual, which is, some people look at it as the Bible of our disorder organization, where we use to diagnose.
Okay.
I don't think that way, but some people do. But that's beside the point. So in that, you will find a whole list. There's a huge book, very thick, and it's got a whole list of all these disorders. You know, schizophrenia, bipolar, depression. You get all that stuff. Most of those disorders can be, the etiology comes from lack of connection with another human being. And so when we feel unsafe, which happens as soon as we feel threatened, as soon as we don't have those connections, we begin to deteriorate. We deteriorate cognitively, we deteriorate emotionally, we deteriorate physiologically, because we're worried. And we have a vagus nerve in the back of our head, and it's the go-between of our brain and our body.
Right.
And when we perceive that we're not safe, then, and we start to deteriorate, we're going to have all kinds of symptoms. Some of these symptoms are anxiety, going into depression, we've got irritability, we're going into anger, we've got despondency, and confusion. So you have an array of affective or emotional and behavioral and cognitive dysfunction. And that's what's happening to a lot of folks here.
Right.
He's been around the planet. And unfortunately, a lot of folks don't know that that's why they feel that way. So they feel like something's wrong. I'm going crazy. Something's wrong with me. Or they know it, they don't have any coping skills. So what we could do, if you like, I could share a couple of tools right now to help people.
I love it because, you know, honestly, I think when most people think of anxiety, they're thinking of Xanax, which, of course, for all of us that are working out there, is brought to you by the great Pfizer company. Oop, I had it up here. Brought to you by Pfizer, so that might, you know, they're making the Xanax. You want to buy some Pfizer stock, that might help you out. Yeah, share some tools with me. What do we got?
Okay, first of all, I mentioned the vagus nerve. And the vagus nerve is...
Did you say Vegas as in Las Vegas?
Actually, it's the same root word, vago.
Okay.
And you know the word vagabond?
Yeah.
And in Latin, Vegas means to travel, to go, and so that's kind of
because I was in Vegas for New Year's Eve and I definitely hit my vagus nerve. You know, I think it might be a little different.
Well, good for you, brother.
Oh, yeah, gotta have some fun.
Anyway, so what you can do is, I'm gonna give you several. One is get yourself a bowl, a big bowl, and put some ice and water in it, some ice water. Put your face in that ice water, hold it there for 30 seconds. Now, what will happen is that because the vagus nerve in the back of our head is connected to all manner of organs and things like that in our bodies, it also has several connections in our head. Our eyes, our lips, our tongue, and a lot of our muscles in our face, because, you know, we got thousands of muscles in our face.
Mm-hmm.
And these are there to perceive threat, always be on alert. So when you put your face in cold water, it constricts these muscles, and it causes a reaction to go back to the vagus nerve, saying, "Oh, and excuse us, but chill out." I mean, I'm sorry.
Literally, right? Because your face is buried in ice.
But yeah. So that's one thing you can do. Another one is to breathe. Now, first of all, you want to breathe through your nose, principally, and there's a great book out called Breath, bestseller. So I've forgotten the name of the author right now, but if you look it up, I'm sure you'll find it. It's fairly new. And in it, he talks about how important breath is, and not just breathing. I'm talking about the breath as it relates to your body and as it relates to what the best ways. So he talks about in this research breathing through your nose. But here's the thing about breath. Take a deep breath at a 4 count. Right? 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold it for 4. Blow it out for 6.
Okay.
Hold it for 4, and inhale for all. Do the same thing all over again. Now, the part that's really important is that you blow out more than you take in, and that means you're going to usually blow out all of your in your lower diaphragm out, and so your stomach is going to go down. So when you breathe in, you breathe into your stomach, your lower diaphragm first. You take in the air, you hold it for 4 counts, then you blow it out for 6. You hold it for 4 counts. You take it in for 4. You hold it for 4 counts. You blow it out for 6. That's another one. Also, to be mindful.
Mm-hmm.
Now, mindfulness is something that a lot of folks associate with meditation, and it should be. It's one of the names of meditation that John Kabat-Zinn coined years ago, and he's one of the G-dads of mindfulness meditation. And he's been doing this for 30-something years. He wrote a book called Full Catastrophe Living, and he just wrote another one called Wherever You Go, There You Are. It was about a couple of years ago. And his buddies, Dan Goleman, who is the author of EQ, Emotional Quotient, Your Emotional Intelligence, and Richie Davidson, and all these guys came out of Harvard, by the way. The two of them, Richie and Dan, wrote a book called Altered Traits. So I'm only mentioning these because they're good backup references for your guys and gals out there to begin to do their own research and how they can help themselves by beginning to meditate. Meditation is so powerful, Merlin. Mm-hmm. You can going into meditation for just 8 weeks. They showed this through research. Just 8 weeks, consistent everyday use, about anywhere from 20 to 30 minutes, will begin to lower blood pressure. It will cause your immune responses to become more strengthened. It will increase your resistance to pathogens in the air. They're always in the air. And it will create integration and differentiation in your brain, meaning that you will communicate better, you will coordinate better, you will have more coherent aspects of your brain. So start to meditate if you haven't already. Do some guided imagery. See yourself strong, vibrant, healthy, and do that every day. If you can't do 20, 30 minutes, do 5. Just do whatever but do it every day. And get yourself something funny. Cousins, I forgot his first name. Anyway, this guy got sick. He was a kind of monkey muck back in the 40s and 50s, and he had cancer. He put a bunch of Marx Brothers movies on and stuff like that. He laughed and laughed. He laughed himself to hell.
I've got my suggestion for everybody out there with regards to that. I am a huge fan of lighthearted, slapstick, silly comedies, and for me, and I'm actually rewatching this right now from season 1 all the way, I believe, through season 8 or 9, and I would encourage you guys to do it as well if you have Hulu, is Seinfeld. It's a show about nothing. It's just simple, ridiculous, but it's so funny, and you start to... It's definitely made me feel better during this pandemic and this quarantine, and certainly, watching Criminal Minds all the time probably doesn't help my brain too much. But I'll tell you what, if I need to murder somebody, I'll get away with it. I've got it down. I'm on season 13. I know how to do it, but watch something humorous and lighthearted and fun.
Yeah, that's right. So those are some of the things you want to do. Now, here's some things that I want to encourage your listeners to be cognizant of and worry about. Not worry, wary. You want to make sure that you're not what we call perseverating and ruminating on stuff, doom and gloom. If you find you're doing that, then go get a good book or go get that stuff that Seinfeld reruns or whatever, and change your thinking, because thoughts trigger emotions, and emotions drive behaviors. You don't want to get yourself into a loop of being so caught up into the doom and gloom that you will bring on more stress. You go past your threshold of the stress. You go into cytokines are going to be released, and the cytokines are going to bring on more inflammation. Inflammation is going to build up in your joints and in your brain. And unfortunately, God forbid, you could end up with an autoimmune disease, because that's where autoimmune diseases come from. They come from an overabundance of inflammation. Mm-hmm. Now, inflammation is something that we need, but not in those large doses. And they come in large doses when we become highly stressed. So just know that you're going to be okay, that you're not the only one that's feeling this way. I mean, most people are, to one degree or another. In fact, one night I was sitting up here in my office at home, and I'm sorry.
No worries. It's blowing up over there.
Okay. I'm sorry.
No worries.
And I started to feel, I was feeling very on edge. I was feeling irritable, and I was feeling anxious. And I said, "What's going on?" I said, "Oh, I'm anxious because of COVID."
Yeah.
And it was. And see, the thing is, we have an unconscious, which is most of our brain activity. We're only about 2 to 3%, maybe 5% at the most, are we conscious. Mm. Everything else is below the waterline. So that means there's a lot of stuff going on, thoughts, verbal, we have unconscious conversations, all that stuff is going on below the level. So it's good to kind of check in with yourself 2 or 3 times a day. Ask yourself, what's my emotional temperature? How do I feel? What can I do to support my health and well-being? And one more thing, I give you one more tool you can use. You can go to the internet, you can go to iTunes, you can go to a lot of different sources and get what's called binaural signals or binaural beats. And these binaural beats are frequencies that can go through what's called brainwave entrainment to take you from a brain that's full of stress, of frequencies and stuff like that, and then calm you down. So, but get sleep and eat well.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting. There was, I read this thing as soon as COVID hit. I didn't read it. It was actually a Joe Rogan podcast. And Joe Rogan interviewed this guy, and he was like the head of immunology at Minnesota University, and just really, really intelligent guy. And of course, this was all back in February, March, maybe, when we were still kind of figuring out what the hell's going on with COVID. We were led to believe this is the next Spanish flu, and hundreds of millions of people are going to die. This doctor said a couple things. He said there's really 4 things that you need to do to really protect yourself against COVID. Number 1 is stop drinking alcohol because it weakens your immune system, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm like, okay, great. Well, I failed on that one because I'm going to be drinking on Friday, Saturday night, certainly on my Friday show with all the viewers. Number 2, he said, make sure you eat better. You know, all these super heavy saturated fats you're eating, maybe try eating more vegetables and fruits. We're quarantined, so it's easier that way anyway. Number 3 was get a lot of exercise. Make sure your body is in its top form because it's going to be more prepared to deal with whatever comes your way, whether that's a psychological issue or a health-related issue. And finally, he said, as Dr. Woody Johnson said right there, get some sleep. You know, make sure you're getting a good amount of rest. And all this is designed, at least from the COVID perspective, to put you in a place where your body, your immune system is going to function in the best way to deal with that threat if it does make it into your house and into your body. From a psychological perspective, I think it's all really the same basic things, right? You want to do things that are going to put yourself in a healthy state, in the right frame of mind, and even if that means dipping your head in some ice water, it might reset or get you to focus on something. And I'm going to add 3 little points, or a couple points here. I think you said, Doc said, check in with yourself every day, see where you are at. What I would do also is maybe get one of these little, I think I have one here. Where is it? Oh, it's a tiny little notepad, like a small one that fits in your pocket. Oh, yeah, it looks just like this. Yeah, I'll pull it up for the viewers at home. Little tiny, you get them at Target for 30 cents or something. Keep one of those with you. And what I would do every now and again is write down things that are bothering you. And if you find that your list is getting long there, that means that it's going to start to impact your behavior. Whether that's your trading, which of course is the focus of the program, but or of your life as well. And the more that you start to have negative marks on that piece of paper, like I'm stressing on this, and this. And now it might be a time to step back, think, implement some of the pieces that Doc was talking about, the breathing exercises, meditation, and try to get yourself back grounded, because I personally have gone through this where if you don't rein those things in, they can snowball out of control, and next thing you know, you feel like you're in one flew over the cuckoo's nest.
Absolutely. Well said, Merlin. And the thing is, there are so many measures that we can take in a proactive stance. And think of it this way. You're in the castle, so your body's your castle. And we've got a big fence around it, and we've got a moat outside the fence, all that kind of stuff. So those are defensive measures. Just like, so your moat can be your eating and we'll call them hygiene functions. Working out, and there's plenty of stuff you can do at home. You don't have to go to a gym, push-ups, sit-ups, all that stuff. And the next thing is to eat right. The next thing is, and you got to sleep. When you don't get at least 6 to 8 hours of sleep a night, you miss out on delta frequency sleep. Delta frequency sleep is when your body is healing itself. It is addressing all of those issues that it had during the day. And if you are doing the other things you need to do, then your body's in a good place to begin to mitigate the onslaught of the threats that it had to fight off earlier that day or that week. But you've got to, and Delta is gotten into on a basis where you go down for a while and you come back up. In other words, you go deep into the frequencies and you run a very slow frequency, maybe 3 hertz, something like that. And then you go up to theta. Theta is like 4.5 to 8 hertz. And then you go up to alpha. Alpha is like 7 or 8 to about 13 or 14 hertz. And then you go back down. I mean, that's the way it normally works. Some folks stay up around alpha and beta, and they're called they have either insomnia or they've got the other thing that you use the CPAP for.
It's for snoring.
Anyway, yeah. So the point is, if you're doing those things well, then you got a good strong moat, you got a high fence, and then you got your guards on the top to deal with it. Now, that doesn't mean that nothing's going to get through. No, it means that most of the things you're going to keep out. Every now and then, something can happen.
Yep.
That causes distress throughout the castle. It could be a good friend got sick. Maybe a family member passed away. You got problems with, you need to go to work and you haven't worked in a year, and you still got bills to pay. So your finances or your trading. You do one of those things like I've done. Hopefully, it's been a while, thank God. But but doing one of those boneheaded moves where you find yourself picking up the pieces from a horrible trade that you did some stuff on that you got distracted and you were looking at things from an illusion. Right. So those things, and then you got stress that's impacting the stress.
Right. And we're all loaded with it right now. I mean, you look at the current situation of what's going on in the world, and it's sad, but I guess we just have to learn how to deal with it. Is whether we wanted to or not, we're all in the same boat. We all have the stress and anxiety of COVID. We all have the stress and anxiety of not really knowing for sure what's going to happen in the next 6 months, year, or whatever. I mean, we're all now used to wearing masks. That's our new normal. We're all, maybe potentially freaked out about losing our jobs again. Some people have been on unemployment. Some are still on unemployment. All of a sudden we've seen this, I guess, the baseline measurement of stressors has been elevated significantly because of COVID. And of course, regardless of which side of the political aisle you're on, the media has made this probably the most stressful political time I've ever experienced. I know some of you probably feel that as well. These stressors are on the rise, and Dr. Woody Johnson has a formula that I've taken to heart over the years, and it's really simple. Careful, DJ says I'm snowballing lately. That could have all kinds of weird little meanings down there. The acronym is this: T+E+B R. And I love that you presented this one to me years ago, because I've definitely taken it to heart, not just in my trading, but in my personal life as well. And for you guys, if you want to write this one down, I would encourage you to. It's really important. T equals thoughts. What is your mind thinking? And this is where I personally have my worst problems. My brain will go down a rabbit hole, and all of a sudden it's really bad, and it triggers my anxiety. I'll give you an example. I'm getting a little personal here, but I had a major issue with anxiety in the past. I'm still dealing with it, but something as simple as cutting my finger, a paper cut, right? Which happens all the time, no big deal. My brain would be like, okay, it's a paper cut. And like 5 minutes later, it would just start throbbing. And I mean, like really throbbing. And you're going, oh man, this must be infected. And then my brain goes, it's infected. And all of a sudden my hand gets numb. I personally think that my brain is creating the numbness out of it's a placebo effect, really. And all of a sudden I feel like my whole hand is numb, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm having a shock reaction to this. I'm going to lose my hand. And then all of a sudden, my whole body, I go through hot flashes, and then I grab a hold of something. I say, listen, you idiot, it's a freaking paper cut. Stop, you're fine. But my brain all of a sudden goes down this rabbit hole and creates the most catastrophic situation possible from that little thing. So to me, the T is the hardest part. E is emotions, right? How do you deal with those thoughts? B is behavior, which is how are you physically reacting to it? And you can see where my problem kind of snowballs real quickly there. And all of that leads to your results. And I think in your trading, guys, you all know this: thoughts plus emotions plus behavior equals results. I certainly think in the personal life, it's probably more prevalent because we deal with all of those things on a daily basis. So anyway, I want to throw your acronym out there, Doc.
Well, thanks. And I'll dovetail a little bit on you. On what you said. And it's a great way that you explained it too, Merlin. So when we look at these thoughts that trigger emotions, that drive behaviors, one of the things that you want to do is to create an avatar for that part.
Okay.
Because, and we have all kinds of parts in us. And they can be called sub-personalities and things like that. And they're created by events and situations and circumstances that happen in our lives from the time that we are babies up until whatever the present age we are. So, and a lot of people think that you want to stop feeling anxious, and you want to eliminate all that stuff. Well, you can't. But nor, if you could, you really don't want to, because when it messes things up when it gets overpowering, when it becomes really, in your case, getting close to a panic attack.
Yeah.
And that's off the chain. But having it at a low level keeps us alert, keeps us anticipating things that could happen so that we are prepared. So it's not a bad thing. It's just something that you want to learn to manage. How you learn to manage is make it an avatar. It's a part, but it's a part of you. So first of all, you want to really have a compassion. Like you don't want to yell and call yourself names. You don't want to do that.
I do when I'm trading. When I'm trading, I'll call myself all kinds of names.
But what you want to do is have compassion for that part and say, look, let's say you call him Jeeves. Now, Jeeves, you need to relax, man. This is not the time to be screwing with me. And first of all, I appreciate the fact that you are doing this because you want me to be aware that something can happen, and you want to keep me safe. Thank you. But we need to come up with a better way. This doesn't work. And right now, you need to go over in the corner or wherever you need to be and just stifle yourself. You know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now here's what's going on when you do that. First of all, you're acknowledging to the part that you appreciate what it's trying to do, because that part, they're real strong, as you saw with what happened with you with the it becomes psychosomatic.
Yep.
Now that doesn't mean that just because we call it psychosomatic, that's not a word. It's happening, and it's happening big time. But it's psychosomatic because the issue is not stemming from something organic. It's stemming from your head. That's why it's psychosomatic, but it's real, as you can attest.
Yep.
So when that happens, we want to begin to learn and train to manage it. We manage it by first talking to Jeeves, letting Jeeves know that we appreciate it, but Jeeves, you've got to stop this. And right now, I'm not going to listen to you. So you need to go somewhere right now, and then we'll deal with building something better later. And after you do that, once you do that, you have detached. You've detached from the avatar.
Right.
And it makes and in that dissociation, it puts some distance between you, and it will start to mitigate the rapidly rising intensity of the emotion. Okay.
But I think it's about identifying that you're in it as well. You know, I think a lot of times people they don't realize that they're falling into that rabbit hole. I see DJ here says, you know, I hate those rabbit holes. I know them. Big Eb says obsessing never solves anything and it's unhealthy. That's true, but unfortunately sometimes we don't have a say, or you're not aware that these things are happening, and all of a sudden you just you follow it because you're like, okay, this is the way things are going. And at a certain point, for me anyway, and I hope that some of this helps you guys here, is I have to really just step back and say, stop. Okay, mine's not Jeeves. I would say if I gave mine a name, it'd be Donnie from The Big Lebowski. Shut the fuck up, Donnie. Great movie, by the way, Big Lebowski. It's put on my list of things to make me feel better during the pandemic. But, you know, I had to physically just stop and sit down and say, okay, your brain's telling you that, you know, you're having a panic attack, you want to run out of the building right now. Just sit down. This is going to pass in probably a couple minutes. It'll be fine. And it always does. You know, it always does. But, you know, you have to make that initial step and say, this has to stop. I'm making it worse for no reason other than my brain is telling me it's going to be worse. And to me, that is one of the best things that helped me get past my major anxiety. And even though I'm not totally out of dodge with it, I still have my moments, but I managed to deal with a lot of the big stuff. So,
and that's the point we're making. And that's a great point that you just brought up, that you can manage it.
Yep.
It's not as though it's going to take over unless you allow it to. And the point about awareness, we've got to become more aware of what's going on inside of us. And see, once we take Donnie and we let Donnie know that Donnie's got to go for now because we got things to do, and put some distance between it. Then take a moment, and what you did is perfect. You went and sat down and you talked to yourself. You know, that's all a part of managing that moment.
Yeah.
And it's like the trade. When you're in a trade, you want to be in the now of the trade. You don't want to be thinking about what might happen or thinking about what did happen. You want to be focused and not doing a whole lot of thinking at all. You want to rely on your plan and allow your plan to be executed as you have put it together. And when you do that, that's managing the trade. We want to manage ourselves the same way.
Yeah.
And go ahead.
I was going to say, you know, you're talking about trading. I want to real quick, since we're kind of running out of time here. I want you to you talk a little bit about your current endeavors. I know you've been doing a lot of stuff for Online Trading Academy over the years, and now you're working on some other projects. For those, real quick, I'll give you the page here for his book. There we go. There's the book that he's got. It's called From Pain to Profit, Secrets of the Peak Performance Trader. That was released about the same time as Avatar, a few years back on that book, but you can find that one at Amazon.com. But you've got another endeavor right now, which I'll bring up the link here. It's thedailymarketforecast.com/Woody. Tell me about what you're up to. I know you got a new program rolling out, and you're going to do some webinars this week that maybe the viewers can attend if they like.
Yeah, that'd be great if you guys do. We're going to share with you. I'm going to teach you the 7 steps to self-discipline trading, and all you got to do is come in and opt in with your email, and we're going to give you a copy of the book for free.
Wait, hey, you didn't tell me that. Well, I mean, what now? I find out I'm supposed to know before all my viewers. You can't. Damn. All right.
I thought I'd surprise you a little bit, but. So we're going to give you a solid 90 minutes of great content. And if I do say so myself, and it's not like I came up with all this stuff. I've been in many different endeavors over the years. I've been with AI Consulting, Pecos River Consulting. I've been, of course, I'm a licensed clinical psychologist, and I've been helping people for 30 years. I've been involved in a lot of fellowships and whatnot, leadership and all that stuff. So I've gleaned from many of the things that I've dealt with to come up with these 7 steps. And they are powerful steps. So we are giving you this because we're launching a home study course. And so we want to, in our way of paying you to come in and listen to a little bit of a pitch about the home study course, we're going to provide for you the 7 steps of self-discipline trading. So we're excited about this home study course. It's going to be 6 weeks, and it's going to be great. So we'd love to have your listeners come on out there and check it out.
Oh, obviously, I'd love to join it as well. I know over the years I've learned a lot, and I think that when you look back at, and I think for everybody here, especially the new guys and gals, when you look at the world of trading and investing, we think it's analytical. I've got a bookshelf full of books over here that are all about technical analysis and new trading systems and intermarket analysis and relationships. Literally, I have 50 books here of just analytical stuff. And the irony is, if you talk to anybody who's in trading for a long time, it really is about 80 to 90%, in my opinion, psychology. It's how we deal with these situations. It's not just about identifying a bullish flag pattern. It's how we react to it. It's not just saying here's supply and demand. It's how do we react to it and what do we do?
Absolutely.
It's a big thing for me in understanding myself, and it took me a long time to realize that. One thing I like to always tell people that are in my classes when I used to teach them is, if you don't think you have anything wrong just with yourself, then just get involved with trading, and the market will show you right away, because it makes you. It's
Ain't
true.
It the truth?
Yeah.
Ain't it the truth? Yeah, exactly.
It shows you right away. I had one question that came in. If you guys have questions for Dr. Woody Johnson, please feel free to send those in right now. We'll do a couple minutes of Q&A, but I saw one that came through here a little while ago. Bear with me. It was a ways back, but I didn't want to disrupt the conversation. Richard says, Dr. Woody, do you consider the spiritual side of psychological management?
Very much so. Very much so. I don't talk much about spirit because not everyone is on the same page with regard to what spirit is or what spirit might be, or your different ways of looking at it. But certainly, spirit is, well, first of all, when you look at the research and the work of Jung way back, and to a small degree, Freud, and then especially to a large degree what's happening in neuroscience now, there's a lot of evidence to point to the fact, well, I'll call it a fact, it's arguable for some folks though, that we are all connected. We're connected in a collective consciousness, and that connection, whomever, I'm sure a lot of you guys have thought about somebody and the phone rang and it was that person. Or you thought about somebody all night and you found out that they passed away the next morning. Or that's called synchronicity. At least that's what Young called it. And it points to the notion that Teilhard de Chardin talked about when he said that, remember, you're not a human being having a spiritual experience. You are a spiritual being having a human experience.
Oh, nice.
And when we look at it that way, it really helps us, especially if you use mindfulness and other techniques like that, to be in the now, to be in the moment, and allow your consciousness to rise. And when it rises, in my opinion, you are opening yourself up to all the goodness of the universe. And so when we look at trading and spirituality, some people have problems with the fact that they think they're taking money from somebody. Well, no, it's a place where you have money as a medium of exchange, and you're involved in transactions. Mm-hmm. And some people, unfortunately, don't do their homework. They don't really prepare. They don't plan. And so they end up giving their money and donating it to all the other traders.
Yep.
But the thing is that that's not a bad thing. That's a consequence of the individual's consciousness, and it's a consequence of the individual's ability to manage themselves and to control, to whatever degree they can, their emotions. So spirituality is a big thing, and it is a very important thing. But if you don't want to look at what you do in spiritual terms, that's your prerogative. But just know that all of these consequences that I just talked about with regard to donating money, they're still there.
Yeah.
Whether you want to look at this just think about it or not.
Yeah. They'll always be there, you know. It's just how do we deal with stuff. Guys, I had the webpage up here. Let me bring it back up. I'm still dealing with my computer, it's all messed up. But there is the website. It's thedailymarketforecast.com/Woody. I actually have that on Woody's picture there, so if you guys wanted to write that one down or visit the page. If you scroll to the bottom, it'll tell you about the upcoming times. Today's Monday, the 25th, so Tuesday, tomorrow at 5 p.m. 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. They have a webinar going on. Also on Thursday, the 28th, you can find out more information by just scrolling to the bottom and putting your name down there and your email, and they'll get you all the information regarding that. So I encourage you guys to check that out, and I'll bring it up full screen here again. There is Dr. Woody's page or link to get there. What are any other parting thoughts on the markets? I know we've been in this massive bull run up. It's been just continuing to tear to the upside. I don't know if you've been active out there. Got any thoughts on the overall market?
I have. And the thing is, I would say, keep doing your homework and do your research and enjoy this bull run, but do so with the caveat that at any moment, we know that a full correction can happen and the bubble can burst. But until it does, enjoy.
Yeah.
Enjoy.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And remember, enjoyment doesn't mean that you want to gamble. Enjoyment means that you're going to work your process to the best of your ability. You want to bring your A game to the platform. You're going to do what's in your best interest, and each and every time you're going to follow all of your rules, keep all of your commitments. If you do that, guys, you're going to have a lot of joy in your trading. That's what you want. You want joy in your trading, and leave the fun behind.
Bring it.
The joy.
I love it. Bring more. We all need more joy and fun.
Yeah.
All right, Doc. Hey, well, thank you so much for coming on the program. I know it's been a while. I hope you guys have a great couple webinars this week, and maybe I'll get you. Well, maybe try to get you back on once a month. I love having you on a monthly rotation.
That'd be great. I'd love to do that.
Awesome.
And it's been a blast, bro. I love hanging out with you. You know that you're one of my faves, brother.
Awesome. Hey.
So be safe, be well, and to all of your listeners, be safe and be well, you guys. And come on and check us out with the webinar, and we'll see you next time.
Sounds good. Thanks, Doc.
Thanks, Merlin. Bye-bye.
All right, guys, that was Dr. Woody Johnson. Always got some great insights, great market behavioral analysis. I've been a fan of him for many, many years. Certainly, he's helped me through some of my personal issues, and I know I normally keep those things close to the vest, but I think some of the things I experienced, especially for the past 2 years since I had my weird anxiety break, if you can share just like the trading thing, if you can share information with people to help them get past something that you've experienced and dealt with, then great. And I'll tell you what's interesting. One of the things that happened with the doctors was I went to get some checkups because I was having some head issues. I was like, what is going on here? And they gave me all kinds of medication, of which I've taken absolutely none of it, from antidepressants to Xanax and all these different pills. And I'm like, I don't want to be at the situation where I'm taking a pill to deal with a problem that I think I can deal with in my head. And, with our health, and many times we can take a pill to fix an ailment, right? So if I have anxiety, great, I can take Xanax or, you got these other different drugs. With trading, it's not really the same way. We don't have that ability to take some magic pill and all of a sudden our trading gets better. So there's a more of a challenge, I would say, when we're looking at the trading side of things, because I can't go to Pfizer and say, hey, can you give me a pill that will make my trades go up for 4 hours? It doesn't happen. But anyway, I wanted to share that with you and my personal experiences. And again, if anybody has issues with anxiety, panic attacks, feel free to email me. I'll put my email on the screen up here, because I feel like I've done a ton of different research, a ton. Yeah, I know, Jeff. I'm sorry about that volume thing. I don't understand why it's doing that. It just started doing it, and I'm backing my volume way down right now, and it still looks like it's popping. So, if you guys have issues with anxiety or something, email me. Just email me at TraderMerlin. I got it on the screen right now, TraderMerlin@gmail.com. I can give you some pointers. I actually thought about potentially doing some videos on it, because the things that I've discovered through research have been very helpful. And of course, having people like Dr. Woody Johnson kind of guide me through the psychological aspects. But if you knew where I was 2 years ago, it was a pretty dark, bad place. Out of nowhere for no reason whatsoever. It didn't make any sense to me. So anyway, Dr. Woody Johnson will also be doing some webinars. I'll bring that page back up. Nope, the screens are all backwards today. I'm going to have to redial everything in for the show. Here is the website one last time, and then I'll go into what's happening for you guys for tomorrow. All right, for tomorrow's session, let's bring up our economic calendar and our earnings calendar for everybody. There's our wonderful castle. This is what we have cooking for the economic calendar for tomorrow, the 26th. Now, today, there wasn't really much going on. It was no big deal. Tomorrow, there is quite a few announcements. You see here, we've got the Case-Shiller Composite 20 Home Price Index. That's expected to jump by 0.9%. Consumer confidence numbers coming out. Richmond Manufacturing Index, as well as another HPI number. So, some pretty important stuff for the U.S. tomorrow. Down near the bottom, you see you've got Australia with some CPI numbers, but really, mainly the U.S. is kind of the big stuff. Now, as Doris says, hey, Merlin, what do you think about GME's activity crazy moves? Well, let's talk about anxiety. So, here's GME. Now, if you want, I don't have it right here. Maybe I can bring it up for you guys. But I posted on my Twitter feed today a couple different charts. Or not charts, but one of them is a table. And the table I posted was about the most heavily shorted stocks on the market. Number one by a large margin was GameStop, GME. 138%. I cannot believe that it's actually that significant. 138% was the short interest, meaning more shares were short than were long. I'll tell you honestly, I don't really know how that happens. It's almost like oil going to negative $40 a barrel. How do you have more shares short? Remember, you're borrowing somebody's shares. So the way shorting works is you're borrowing. So let's say I have an E-Trade account, and I decide to hit short on Microsoft. They will look at their accounts and say, yeah, we have enough shares to loan this to Merlin. And at some point, he'll pay us back and buy those back and replace them. And the customer that they borrowed them from, it could be Lori V. She may have Microsoft shares sitting in her account and not even know that they've loaned them to me. It's part of when you signed up for the contract. When you sign up for an account, they reserve the right to borrow your shares, but they will be there when you want them, right? So if you decide to sell your Microsoft, there will be shares there because there's a big pool that they're taking from, and usually they're not going to sell short all of those shares. So something happened. I have no idea how you could possibly get to a 138% short interest. That's just mind-boggling. Some of these other ones, like Best Buy, which also had a huge move up today. I'll bring up, here's GameStop's chart, and then here's Bed Bath & Beyond, BBBY. There we go. They had a similar situation. Right now, the short squeeze is the way to go. And I think people now are seeking this out, trying to force a short squeeze. Lori calls it a short crush. It's actually called a short squeeze. And what that means is that there is so many shares short that what happens is if there's a small move up in price, those people who were short are forced to cover. Remember, to cover a short position, you have to buy the shares. So it creates this huge surge of buying. And there's a couple other little pieces here which to me, exacerbate the situation, and that is this. If you have shares short, where's it going to go? If you have shares short, like GME, right, GameStop, a ton of shares short, and you have an institution come in and they pop the price and price shoots up a little bit, you have all of these people that are buying to cover their shorts, but on the other side, remember, you borrowed those shares. If you shorted any stock, you are borrowing them from your broker. If the broker gets fearful at any moment, they can tell you you are forced to cover those shares. They can do it automatically behind the scenes. So you may think you're short, and all of a sudden they've closed it because they've changed their requirements on the percentage of shares they can lend out. And some of this may be brokers all of a sudden saying, hey, you know what? We're not going to let you short that anymore, and forcing people to buy and cover their shorts. It was up over 144% today. It's up 600% in just the past couple of weeks. Phenomenal. Does that mean GameStop is the greatest company out there? No, it's GameStop. I mean, come on. Most people are downloading the games anyway. Here is what we've got for GameStop's chart. I'll do a little bit of technical analysis magic here, but wouldn't you have loved to have owned this thing back at $5 back in August? Well, the real move, the ballistic moves happened about a week and a half ago, and it's up 694% in the last 12 days. Crazy. So I printed a list, or put a list on my Twitter feed of the top, I think I've had 15 different companies there, something like that. The top 15 most heavily shorted stocks out there. You guys might want to keep an eye on those. Those will probably be the big things, the big movers over the next few days. GameStop, it's a bummer. I wanted to buy some puts on it this morning, but I just decided it's probably too dangerous. You talk about anxiety. If you were short on GameStop, you're broke, right? This is a good example of how you lose everything. So let's say, for example, everybody that's watching this right now, that you decided to short GameStop after it had this big pop up here, right? You're like, it was trading at $20, and then the next day it closed at $31, and you're up 50%. You're like, no way, this company sucks. It's a I keep doing this. I'm sorry, guys. It's a brick and mortar business. So what do I need to be loading up on a brick and mortar business right now with all this COVID stuff? So a lot of people are probably going out there at $31 going, I'm shorting this thing. Now let's say you can take home overnights, and for those of you who trade equities, you can short overnight at 2-to-1 margin. Meaning if I had $60,000, I can short up to $120,000 worth of stock. I can do that overnight. Now, let's say I decided not to use any margin. I just wanted to use my cash. I got $60,000. Let me do $30,000. It's an easier example. So if we go back to this chart, you notice, let's say I shorted 1,000 shares at $31. That's $31,000 worth of capital I'm using. Notice here, when it got up to 60, that means that you lost everything because you're betting it's going to go down. If you shorted at 30, it's now at 60. You've lost 30 points. You are at zero. You've literally lost every penny that you have. There are people who were probably short GameStop at $20 because they thought it was terrible, and it spiked up to $160 today. These people are getting absolutely annihilated, absolutely short squeeze. And unfortunately, you're probably going to hear about some stories where people may have had a $20,000 position on GameStop and now after their losses, after they lost everything, all $20,000, probably owed like another $140,000. And you're like, wait a minute, I can't lose more than I put in. Yes, you can on a short. On a short, your loss is infinite. I mean, if this thing comes out tomorrow and opens up at $7,000 per share and you were short at 20, that's $6,980 per share you're going to have to come up. Difference when you buy it, because you have to buy it at that higher price. That makes sense? I remember. I don't know about that one, a form of crowdfunding. I don't know about that, but I mean, it's certainly, I would say, a short squeeze and potentially somewhat orchestrated. Normally, you don't see companies that heavily shorted in the 60, 70, 80% range. That list I posted on Twitter this morning, you can go check it out at TraderMerlin. All of those are up over 50%, I believe. A 50% short interest. That's a huge amount, and to me, any one of those is right for a short squeeze. You'll hear from them on Wall Street Bets. Yeah, unfortunately, Medic, I hope that you just hear about them. But, this is There was this is a horrible story, but it's a true story. Back in 1999 or 98, somewhere in there, there was a guy who shorted a bunch of stocks, and I believe it was out of Atlanta. It was a day trading firm, and he shorted a bunch of stocks. He came to the office the next day, and the stocks that he had shorted, meaning he thinks they're going to go down, gapped up huge. So of course, his firm that he was trading through closed out the trades automatically, and he was thinking, I would have lost, $10,000 something. Not only did he lose all of his investment, it was like a 10x gap up. So he lost hundreds of thousands of dollars. And this guy went home, grabbed some guns, and went on a shooting rampage. It's this types of things that can trigger people. And, I've seen really terrible things happen when people are short stocks that just go straight up like this. I mean, you could lose everything. So you got to be really careful when you're shorting. Shorting is a dangerous thing if you don't know what you're doing. In a stock like GameStop, you probably wouldn't think that you're going to get hurt too bad. Well, unfortunately, there's a lot of people out there that were short GameStop who are really absolutely feeling horrible right now. What do you think of Wall Street bets being able to move the market? Look, anybody can move the market. Anybody can move the market. So I don't think that. I don't worry about it. It's just part of the game. To me, this goes back to what Dr. Woody Johnson was saying today, which I think is very valid, which is when you find yourself in these situations where things are going wrong, you can have that anxiety, you can have that panic and freeze up mode. That's the wrong thing to do. The right thing to do is say, all right, well, this sucks. Let me do what I need to do to remedy that pain. In this case, just get out of your GameStop and leave it alone, and then reevaluate, see what you may have done differently, what you could have done better, and then move on. But don't let this thing keep going. I mean, who knows? I personally think GameStop is done moving up. I don't think you're going to see it rally up to the 160 mark, but you know what? If you have 138% of the shares were short, that means there's a lot of people out there that had to buy, right? Yeah, Adam says a hedge fund got put out of business today. I'm sure it's more than one. I'm sure it's a lot more than one hedge funds today are getting put out of business. I mean, any firm that was short GameStop or Bed Bath & Beyond, they got smoked today, But this will happen over and over. This is the nature of the financial markets, and unfortunately, you get caught every now and again. So move on. It's fun to watch. It certainly is fun to watch, but I wouldn't trade GameStop. Leave that alone. The only thing I thought about doing was buying some puts because I really felt it was going to rip back down. That's when I looked at it this morning up at about 150, and I was like, ooh, man, this looks good. Nope. And I wish I would have because, it fell from 160 intraday. Let's look at the intraday price chart on this one just because it's so beautiful. I say beautiful, and it's in a very sinister way. We broke above one. I was looking at it right at about 150. And it fell from 160. Let me give you the exact high. The high today was 159.18. Somebody bought this thing, caught into FOMO, and bought it 159.18. And it proceeded to fall all the way down to $61. That is incredible. Incredible. All right. Gonna make a Wall Street members only jacket. That's a good one. I like that one. All right, I think I gave you guys the announcements for tomorrow. Oh, no, I did economic calendar. Let me go to your earnings calendar because that's an important one as well. There's the economic calendar. Earnings for tomorrow bring you quite a few big names, and to me, this is the start. Wednesday is really the mother load, absolutely mother load. You have Microsoft, General Electric tomorrow, AMD, Verizon, Johnson & Johnson, Lockheed Martin, Starbucks, and of course, if you have dyslexia and AMD looks like ADM, well, ADM reports earnings tomorrow as well. So those are the major names out there. Look at Microsoft's market cap, guys. Remember when we were celebrating the break above $1 trillion market cap for Microsoft? It's almost 2 already. Unbelievable the way these things have been moving. All right. Big M says, I was tempted to, Merlin, but good sense said run. Yeah, and if you do, I don't have a problem if you jump on something like GameStop, but what I'm worried about is that you look at this and you instinctively you go, man, I could have made so much money if I just bought GameStop, and you load up on it. Don't do that. If you want to dabble, okay, take a small amount of capital and play with it because I think it's entertaining, it's exciting, and you'll learn a lot from the process, but don't put a lot of skin in that game because those things are dangerous. It's the analogy of the chainsaws I used many, many times over the years. Adam says, Merlin, what do you think of natural gas for a long-term play at these lows? Well, we are still in winter. I haven't looked at any of the inventory data, which normally I would if I was going to be making this, but I don't have the time to look at it. But let's go at NG. and we'll go to a daily. Trend is your friend to the bend at the end, right? I mean, the strange thing about natural gas. Sorry, that's not natural gas. Sorry, I meant to put NG. I don't know why. Again, that looks weird for natural gas. Yeah, exactly. I thought natural gas is dropping. A lot of this has to do with inventories, which is a little shaky. And I don't spend too much time looking at that. I'm more of a shorter term guy with this. Long term, you got to think about if we are coming out of winter, and I know right now that they're expecting some big snowstorms on the East Coast. That doesn't necessarily mean that natural gas is going to rise, right? Because they're already stockpiling inventory. So while you might think that they're going to be using a lot of natural gas to do all the heating on the East Coast for some snowstorms, if they've already prepared for it, then natural gas could continue to drop. Now, that said, NG, I'll go to the monthly here. There's your monthly chart of natural gas. It's getting cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. Now, because of some of the regulations that might get imposed here in the administration change, I would be keeping an eye on natural gas for potential reversal. I think you might start to see the price of natural due to, I'm pretty sure they'll start to rein in on fracking and those types of things, and that could really put a pinch on natural gas prices. But right now that trend is your friend, and it is nothing but lower. Here's your weekly of it, low, low, low. You know, if we get above 280, maybe $3, then I would probably want to buy in for the longer term. But right there, there you go. What do I think of supply shortages through the Biden administration? Yeah, exactly. I think that's where I was headed with that is I think that, cancel more pipelines, but it's really not just the pipelines. It's the fracking, right? It's the fracking side of it, and I'm pretty sure that the Biden administration is more against fracking. I know that I saw a lot of people really freaking out about the Keystone Pipeline and how Biden shut that one down. You know, you got to look at this from two sides, and I'm not putting myself in the supporting or against camp. But if you look at the thousands of jobs, and of course this is coming from one side, the left or the right, whichever one it is, they're all saying, this took away thousands of jobs, it's destroying families. What happens is new jobs are going to be created. Just those jobs won't be in the pipeline. It might be in solar energy factories. It might be in other areas will be recipients of these jobs. So yes, it is hurting a specific group because it's shutting down pipelines. So those with that skill set, they might have to retrain themselves, and this we've talked about so many times on Power Trading Radio and this show is, the beauty as humans is we have the ability to transition, to learn something new and move down a different path. So, while it's not good because the job loss, when I look at the environmental impact of some of these pipelines and what they've been doing, it's not the best. I don't think it's the best solution to be doing pipelines, but I think there's other ways we can come up with a cleaner, more efficient energy. But again, it will all create jobs. The jobs will come in different areas. Only banning fracking in federal lands, correct? But certainly, just even on federal lands, that could create enough problems, right? All right. Let's see, where else? That was it. So I had it all. All right, guys, that's going to do it for me. Tomorrow I don't have a guest. I was going to go get a guest for tomorrow's show, but I think I'm going to do a couple different things. I want to talk maybe about the short squeezes, if you guys have more questions on that, because I know that there's a lot of questions about the short squeezing thing. Also, I want to talk about tape reading. This is a question that Alan sent in last week, and I just haven't had a chance to get to it. So I pulled the guest off tomorrow, and I'll do one tomorrow on those topics. Of course, I will do whatever topics you guys would like to hear. If you want to know more, you can always email me. The email's on the screen. It's TraderMerlin@gmail.com, or put your comments on the video. That's probably the best thing you can do to help me and my channel is to hit the thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, and comment down below the video. That said, thank you guys so much for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed Dr. Woody Johnson. You should definitely check out his webinar. He's always got some great content. I am a huge fan of Dr. Woody Johnson. And again, you can go here to, it was thedailymarketforecast.com/Woody. I think I even put it in the chat earlier on in the session. All right, buddy. That's going to do it for me. I hope everybody has a fantastic trading session out there for tomorrow, and I will see you all on Manana's show. Take care.